I came into this presidency along with the rest of the leadership with some defined goals. And many of them were spoken about early on. Many of them were spoken about on the campaign trail, actually. But the major obstacle that I have identified, and along with a lot of other people, as holding us back from being able to put this union together is the infighting in Local 100. That is the major obstacle for us getting our act together to be able to take on management. So a top priority of ours was reunifying the union and kind of putting the last several years of disruptive civil strife within the union to rest. Easier said than done. One of the first acts that I engaged in was to hire Curtis Tate, who's the guy I ran against. During the transition, I had a lot of time to have discussions with Curtis Tate, and we came to the conclusion that our goals were not much different. We both were looking to advance the union, both admittedly looking to stop the infighting. We want to bring the union together, and we want to march forward in unity. Next, to make safety a top priority, we hired a new director of safety, a guy named Earl Phillips. You in the audience, Earl? Earl's a bus mechanic by trade. Earl worked with me on the railroad tracks when I was the chairman of the track division several years ago. He's a guy that's obviously familiar with bus operations and how to knock a bus down, but he also had that little bit of additional training by working on the railroad tracks alongside me and the track committee to learn how to shut down jobs and maintenance away over flagging or improper third rail safety. So I believe Earl's done a great job, and I just want to commend him for that. We brought back an occupational health expert, Dr. Frank Goldsmith. He's an expert on occupational health and research. He's a tremendous asset to the team at Local 100. He comes from a labor background. He was the Director of International Safety for the Teamsters under Ron Carey. The fight to control the workplace so that we go home safe at night is spearheaded by our safety department. And the fight to force a safe workplace down management's throat, regardless of whether it affects on-time bus and train performance, and regardless of whether it affects production, has been the goal of this safety department, and they've succeeded in that goal. A massive shop steward program with a different message, a different rationale for teaching than has been done in the past. We have a new Local 100 Education Committee, which is chaired by Steve Downs, who's the chairman of train operators and also an executive board member. And one thing which I am very proud of is that the shop steward curriculum, the content of the course, was developed by a rank and file committee that was put together by the Education Committee for the purposes of coming up with a real curriculum that had real value to transit workers who were going to leave the union hall and face off against management. And that is our goal. Okay, a secondary goal with safety is to start doing title-specific or division-specific training to teach folks who may not know, exactly what they can do in terms of working safe and exactly what their rights are with management in terms of saying, hey, you know what, this isn't right and I'm not going to do it. So that safety protocol and that safety training session is going to start taking place very shortly. As a result of the new program, we're going to have 400 new shop stewards from across every department in the union trained by the end of 2010. Moving on, over the next couple of months, there's going to be increased training, more training for stewards in offices, including but not limited to grievance and arbitration training, collective bargaining training, training to actually build a contract fight. And again, for offices, we're going to conduct training to ensure that our stewards are productively utilized and that we just don't train them and then they go out on the road and they're alone without any backing. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. Improve the communications with our members. We have 2 new bulletins, 2 new publications out. One is called the TW Bulletin. The other one is called TW Alert. We rotate them bi-monthly. Over several months of this year, we've launched a targeted advertising campaign against the MTA to expose the wasteful spending, expose the wasteful bureaucracy, and expose the sheer hypocritical meanness of guys like Jay Walder. We did that, and I say forthrightly, with the financial assistance of the International Union. So thank you very much for that. And there's more of that coming. There's been some discussion also at the earlier meetings about political action and what our future is on political action. The events of the last several months, and particularly the last few days, have led me to believe that we have to totally overhaul our approach to political action, both in Washington and in Albany. We have 400 trained shop stewards. We have activists all over the place that want to participate, and those shop steward and activists are going to become an integral part of a reinvented political action scheme on the part of Local 100, where we rely on the power to get people elected or unelected in their districts, rather than relying on cutting a $1,500 check or a $4,000 check to some politician here or there, or many politicians here or there. It doesn't work. Okay, in terms of a fight back against the MTA, we spoke about political action. We spoke about the Keep America Moving coalition, which we entered into. Carl Martin spoke about the Save Our Ride initiative, which the TW International and the ATU International entered into. We spoke about working with transit advocates and other unions and environmentalists to try to get our agenda across, to try to get our logical point across that transit work is actually green work, that transit workers actually contribute to a greener economy rather than the opposite. We've done media outreach and press relations. I think we've certainly had great success painting Jay Walder as a rich elitist who hijacked our transit system. That point was driven home many, many times, and I'm sure folks would remember the very memorable article in the Daily News with the postcard that we developed depicting Jay Walder in front of his little mansion that he has in the Pyrenees Mountains in the south of France. We're dealing with an absolute rich elitist who could care less about what it's like to be a worker. On protecting TW work and getting work back from the contractors, we named P. Foley from MOW. If I am stating it correctly, he's the #1 revenue equipment maintainer in seniority. He's been around here a long time. He's been around in a lot of farming out fights. We've named him the Director of Bargain and Unit Protection, which used to be known as Farming Out. We are scrutinizing all contracts going to vendors. We've, in many instances, utilized the press to expose the management culture of contracting out our work that could be done by TW members. Okay, we have several grievances in play right now to make the claim that Local 100 is trying to farm out, that the MTA is trying to farm out Local 100 exclusive work. We're going to prevail in those cases. As we go into 2011, we're obviously going to have to prepare for contract negotiations. At the executive board, we're going to have to set achievable goals. And obviously the first goal is to defeat the net zero concept that Jay Walder is putting forth. And of course, net zero is a net loss for us. It's not revenue neutral because every uptick in inflation means that we take a step back if we don't get a raise, or a raise that's net zero. That's a #1 priority. We need to protect our health care and our pensions. We have a governor right now who doesn't even, a Democratic governor, by the way. We all know that. A Democratic governor who doesn't even believe that a Tier 5 pension is sufficient for transit workers that work 30, 35 years on the job. he thinks that a Tier 5 pension is too generous, and a Tier 5 pension would be probably 3062. We have to fight that with every ounce of fight that we have in our bodies. We will defend the conductor title. We're not going to bargain away our conductors. Our conductors are part of the fabric of Local 100, and I'm not prepared to tell the authority that John Samuelsen is allowing you to say goodbye to the conductors. It's not going to happen. We need to begin to address the problems that are going on in MTA bus in a way that hasn't been done before. This has been said a long time. I'm going to begin within the next week or two with a meeting of the vice president and division officers in MTA bus and the depot chairs to begin to try to formulate a plan to fight back an MTA bus and stop the bleeding there. As we go into 2011, you're going to see contract meetings at locations in every borough. You're going to see more than one contract meeting at various locations in every borough. Okay, there's going to be surveys going out to the membership to establish achievable goals, and what's achievable for Local 100 will be directly proportional to the amount of strength that we have as an organization. In the school buses, we need to begin to get our own house in order in the school buses. Once we accomplish that, we're going to put an effort into organizing the unorganized operators up in Yonkers, because all they succeed in doing is undermining the companies that have unionized workers when they put bids in with the districts. We have to organize. We have to organize. I'm imploring everybody in the membership meeting right now to take ownership of your piece of the union. You are the union. You've heard that many times. You are definitely the union. And in conjunction with the stewards, in conjunction with the division committees, we need to begin to fight back, and we need to begin to do it in a smart way, in an organized way, in a tactical way. And if we succeed in doing that, we're going to win. Thank you.